The Tao of Self-Confidence, episode 675. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. Visit our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits. Well, hello friend. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. I'm your host today, Sheena Yap Chan, and today I have an amazing lady on the show today. She is known as the Keto Ass Bee, and I'm really excited to have her on and share her story with us today on self-confidence. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Desiree Frederickson. Desiree, how are you today? Maybe you can fill in a little bit more about yourself to the listeners.
Sure. So my name is Desiree. I go by Keto SB on Instagram, but I'm 34. I currently live in Orange County, and I'm just trying to just maintain this keto lifestyle and try to show people that there are, different options for them out there to better their life.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And Desiree, what's your cultural background?
I'm half Filipino, and also I'm Mexican and stuff and everything like that. I consider myself Filipino whenever I introduce myself, usually.
Thanks for sharing that. And what would be your favorite self-confidence quote?
My self-confidence quote. Oh gosh. It's not necessarily a quote. I guess maybe it is a quote. The way that I take things is that, not everybody is going to like you. So you just have to like yourself. And that's all that really matters in life. And I feel like the minute you start liking and loving yourself, that's when the real light and things shine through you, because nothing else matters.
Thanks for sharing that great quote. And I totally agree. I mean, we can't please everybody. We can learn to love ourselves first, and the right people will come to us. So thanks for sharing that great quote. And in your own words, how do you define self-confidence?
Well, for me, self-confidence really is just about, like I said, just, knowing who you are. I mean, I think ultimately as women in general, we grow up not really in knowing who we are. We grow up with society's, it's going to get really deep, but society's perception of what women should be. And so, as young girls and even teens and young adults, we kind of figure out what we're supposed to be. And I think the biggest self-confidence boost for me is just realizing I don't need to be anything in specific to anybody. As long as I am satisfied with myself, that's all that matters. So with whatever size I be, now granted, if you feel uncomfortable in your size, then that's for you to change, not necessarily because somebody else is telling you to be that way. So really self-confidence comes honestly from within, not the outside perspective, because you could be any size, you can look any way, and you could still have an insecurity. So it really has to really just have to be internal and just appreciate yourself and the things that you do for yourself.
Thanks for sharing that great definition. And Desiree, what was your life like before your discovery of self-confidence?
Well, I've had confidence issues per se. I have my moments where it's very positive and very negative, and it just depends on where I'm at in life. So, growing up as a teenager, I was pretty confident, even though I was very heavy set, but I didn't let that define me. I did have some insecurities, but I also didn't allow it to run my life. And so because of that, my adolescence, even though I was heavier set, I felt great. And then it wasn't until, I got older and I started realizing that if I were to be a certain size or whatever, I would get positive feedback. And, after a while, it's great. And then, but sometimes that can be really detrimental, because then you kind of crave that constant positive feedback. So to me, I go through my ups and downs with self-confidence, but I think right now where I'm at 34, I feel like I'm in this space where I don't want to have, and I don't care what other people are thinking. And that's the real confidence factor in everything. I think at this point, I'm just if wherever I'm at, I'm accepted and satisfied with myself and the people that love me. So.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And I love how you mentioned, being at a certain size, we crave that positive feedback, right? Because we all go through that, right? I've been through it, and it can also be very damaging, right? Because you're doing it for other people versus doing it for yourself. So sometimes we just kind of have to look back and realize, are you doing this for other people, or are you doing this because you want to be healthy, you want to be better, you want to feel better. And, I think it's something that nobody talks about, right? Especially when it comes to like weight loss journeys and stuff. Nobody, like, they see the instant results, but they don't realize like the mental effects of it. And I'm glad you brought that up. And, what was that point in your life when you realized you can always do and be more and, be that confident person? Was there any aha moments?
Yeah, well, it was funny because, during my weight loss journey, like it was more or less like me losing this weight starting keto. It wasn't necessarily like, oh, I'm going to lose weight so I can fit in a bikini or whatever. It wasn't like I'm going to lose weight because I want to be skinny. It was more like I need to lose weight because my knees hurt. I need to lose weight because I can't keep up with my kids. I need to lose weight because I feel like even though I'm 34 years old, I feel like I'm 45, 50, almost 50 years old. So it was more like a sense of how I felt. Now, when I started losing the weight, of course, like you start to like, you lose like 10 pounds, 15 pounds. You're like, oh, I'm feeling good. Like I'm looking good. And so you get that inch of self-confidence. However, sometimes it can go too far. I feel like people, when they get that, because they get obsessive about it. And there was a moment where I was getting a little obsessive about, wanting to have the same results every week or, lose a pound a week or this or that. And then when things started slowing down, instead of being upset like I had started to get, I just realized like, look, like I'm going to get to the point that I need to be. It's not a race. Okay, it's not a race. I'm going to get where I need to be if I just stay consistent. And I think that's the thing with society, and especially with social media. Everything is such an instant gratification, so we want instant results. We want instant like satisfaction. We want to feel that gratification from whatever it may be. And I think once you realize like it's not going to be instant, and that's okay, and you let go of it, then that's when I feel like that's the self-discovery of the self-acceptance of who you are. And I had that moment when I was actually talking to another girl who was doing a thesis on weight loss, and she was asking all these questions, and she was asking me, like, how do I feel like back, like, a few years ago versus how do I feel now? And I realized in that moment, and this was a few months ago, that like I really truly like loved myself, that I was very satisfied with whatever size I was, because I knew that I was making a change in my life, and I saw this results over time. And I was like, look, I got to give myself credit. And at that moment, I was like, I'm satisfied with wherever I go. If I lose 20 more pounds, I'll be satisfied. If I stay at this weight, I'll be satisfied. I think it's just as a perspective of how you treat yourself and your own self-image, your own self-thought, because you just have to learn to accept these things sometimes. You can't stress about what you don't have and what you can't be, because then you'll never be happy.
Thanks for sharing that. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because like people don't realize we have our own journeys and we're all made differently. Mm-hmm. So like our results will always be different. We can't compare our results to other people because, their bodies isn't the same as ours, right? And like you mentioned, like we are in a world of like instant gratification, right? We just feel like if we don't get that gratification, we've failed. But, nobody talks about delayed gratification, what you get for the consistency that you put through, right? I mean, like a great example is the Raptors, 24 years in the NBA, and they finally won a championship.
Right. I mean, and it gives it to them. Like they waited, that it took them its time, but they saw it through the end no matter what. And I think that's like the whole point, is that like, give yourself some slack, cut yourself some slack. Don't, and unfortunately, like social media, everybody people post like transformation pictures, and while they are inspiring, they can slightly be detrimental. And the reason why is that people look at it and they go, I want what that person has. How do I do that? Okay, so I just got to do keto. How long do I have to do that? What the people seem to fail to realize is that it's a slow start. You might lose the first, 5-6 pounds in the first week. That's water weight. But in order to achieve 20 to 30 pounds, that might take you 3 months. It took me 3 months to lose 30 pounds. Now, that's a lot in 3 months, but some people think that can be done in a month, which is not doable. But that's because people see these results and they immediately jump to instant gratification. And what people need to understand is that these things take time, and you got to give yourself some slack. So whatever it is, if you lose a pound in a month, that's still a loss. If you lose 5 inches but not lose any weight in a month, that's still a loss. People need to start giving themselves some slack, stop comparing themselves to other people, and give themselves credit, and really just understand that it is their own personal journey and you can't rush a process.
Yeah, I totally agree. So I really love, all the tips that you mentioned and, especially like just giving ourselves some slack. We're so hard on ourselves, especially as women, especially as Asian women. I don't know if it's how we're brought up, but, we just gotta just be a little bit kinder to ourselves. So thanks for sharing that. And Desiree, if our listeners wanted to get to know a little bit more about you and what you do or check out some of your keto stuff, is there any links or social media profiles we can connect with?
Yeah, so I just only have Instagram and I don't have Facebook or a website right now, but just Instagram. So it's Keto Ass B. So it's, ass and then B is BIH.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And to our listeners, if you want to connect with Desiree, you can also head on over to thetowofselfconfidence.com and search for Desiree's name. Her show notes will pop up along with everything else that we talked about. And I really just want to thank Desiree today for taking the time to share her story and tips with us on self-confidence. So thank you so much, Desiree.
Of course. Thank you.
Not a problem. It was really great having you on the show. And to our listeners, be on the lookout for another new episode of another amazing woman's journey to self-confidence. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to another amazing episode of The Tao of Self-Confidence. Want to learn how you can use podcasting to market your business? Download your free report by visiting our website at thetowofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits.